Tam Vande Guru Paramparam. So, any questions, clarifications on what we have done up to now, or about the meditations? Which is the verse we are doing? Sixth chapter.
17, Swamiji, we finished.
Which one?
17, we finished the 17th verse.
Seventh week did, right? Okay. No, we have done all that too. Yes. We saw the Yukta Ahara Vihara, the
17th.
eightfold path of Buddha. Okay. Or rather, what is popular as Buddhism. Okay. Remember, was Buddha a Buddhist? Does anyone know? You know, Christ was baptized. Saint John the Baptist. Later in life. But Buddha never was a Buddhist. Buddhism came 500 years after Buddha. Okay. So just because he highlighted certain aspects, you can't really make a separate religion out of it, which people did. That is why I am so critical about this academic approach to studying a spiritual text. Yeah? Though I have encouraged a couple of my students to do their doctorates, etc. Students, friends, everything. But that's from a different standpoint. Okay? That is so that traditional learning can get an entry into academic circles. Otherwise, academic circles are very closed circles. They are not open. Very closed. Okay. Because they want to perpetuate what they are learning. Okay. And their way of doing things. It only sounds liberal. It's not really liberal. So when you have this academic approach, you will say, this person said this thing, that person said that thing. Therefore, it's two different things. Not true at all. All these are not true. Yeah. All that is not true. Especially when you are dealing with the parampara. When you are dealing with the parampara, you can never say that. Because I heard, oh, the Upanishad says this, Shankara said this, and his student Sureshwara said this. Can't say that. Okay. Yeah. It is like saying, because I use a few different examples from science, etc. Oh, Pujya Swamiji said that, I am saying something different. That's nonsensical. That's why that academic approach creates a problem. Okay. Whether it is English academic approach or Sanskrit academic approach, the approach is same. Yeah. Just because the language differs doesn't mean anything else differs. Okay. Anyway, after seeing that, let us go ahead so that we have enough time for the meditation also. Today I have to do a little bit more elaborate meditation and take it forward. Okay, Yukta Ahara. I think did we see the 18th verse last time? No, only up to 17th I thought we saw, right? Okay. Anyway, Yada viniyatam chittam atmanyeva avatishtate nispraha sarva kamebhya yukta iti uchyate tada. Yada, when the mind can, which is viniyatam, okay, which has been taken to, okay, आत्मन्येव अवतिष्ठते. Okay, आत्मनि अवतिष्ठते. निस्पृहः सर्वकामेभ्यः, untouched by any desire. Untouched by any desire. Yuktaha iti uchyate tada. Then we can say you are a yuktaha. Yuktaha meaning you are a person who knows the truth. You are a person who knows the truth. Okay. Now, why is he saying like this? Because in the context of meditation, he is talking, he is putting it like this. Because, tell me one thing, when is the mind ever away from the Atma? It is like saying, you can say, I have been cooped up in my house for a long time. I want a break. Let me go to Lonavala for a couple of days. You can say that. Fair enough. No? You've been whole lockdown, you've been cooped up in your house here. Everything is at home only. Work also from home only. It's a pain. So I want to go to Lonavala for a weekend and come back. Understandable. And some people are saying, I wish Swamiji had this camp offline. Next weekend camp. I could have had it, but they are allowing only 25 people. That is too small a number. Yeah. If they are allowing 50 people, I would have done it. So I said this time also online. Offline next time. So you can say that. But can you say, morning, afternoon, evening, I have been with space. Let me get away from space. From this space here, you can get away. From space as such, you cannot get away. Similarly, wherever the mind goes, it will go in the Atma only. Wherever the mind goes, there is awareness there. So when he says, Atmani avatishtate, you have to understand, Atma jnane eva avatishtate. Because there can be a time when your mind doesn't have Atma Jnanam. Like before you attended the class. And now probably you have some insights. And he is giving you an indication. When do you really know you have Atma Jnanam? Nispraha. Nispraha. You are untouched. By what? Sarva kamebhyaha. Meaning, untouched by any binding desire. This you have to understand this. Okay? Because if the mind is there and you have a background, and everyone has a background before they come to this knowledge. Everyone has a background. Why? You are not born with this wisdom. Nor were you taught this wisdom when you were a baby. In fact, I don't teach all these things to my youngsters who come to my youth groups, my youth workshops, etc. No. There I talk to them how to be competent in life, kushalatvam, and little bit of samatvam. Karma Yoga. Without calling it Karma Yoga. Call it Karma Yoga, most of the modern youngsters will run. So responsibility, proactivity, competency, personal competency, all that. This jnanam is resolved later. At least finish your basic graduation, etc. Then we will see. Yeah. Because in today's world, by that time, most of them had some little work experience here and there, would have had some broken love affair, etc. So now they are ready for it. They have seen a bit of life, They have seen a bit. थोड़ा परीक्षा लोकन हो गया, थोड़ा सा We'll do more about it because life is there now. So everyone comes with a background. That's why I'm saying all this. Everyone comes with a background. That is true today. That was true in the time of the rishis. Lopamudra's life was very different background. Agastya's life was very different background. And they got married in their middle age, okay? Very different backgrounds. So, everyone has a background. Vishwamitra and Vasishtha came from entirely different backgrounds. So, because of your background, you will always have certain pattern in your mind. Like if I ask a simple question here, how many of you like tea? How many of you would prefer coffee? I'll get two distinct groups. Two distinct groups. There is no authentic Sardar from Punjab here. Because if he was there, I would have to put a third category. Doodh kaun piyega? अरे जब दूध पी सकता है चाय क्यों पीना है? This all comes from your background. All the South Indian states, coffee, except Kerala, because all tea is grown there. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is, all of us have a background, and because of that, there will be a certain pattern, certain choices, certain things. So when you're choosing one over the other, that means there is some desire. No? But these desires are generally non-binding. They don't bind you. They don't condition your mind. They may condition your body in some cases. Few rare cases. Okay, you are allergic to milk. You have intolerance, lactose intolerance. Very few cases, okay? Everyone claims lactose intolerance. That's all bull. Only few, very few cases. But other than that, it's okay. ये रहेगा, ऐसा रहेगा, वैसा रहेगा, फर्क नहीं पड़ता. This is not a problem. I'd prefer this. So when you have managed to make all your desires, everything that you love, whether it is a thing or the thing next door, everything that you love, too, is nice if it is there, but I am not emotionally dependent on it. I am not emotionally dependent on it. That is what he means by nispraha. When in the fullness of this knowledge you discover your ananda, then desire loses its hold on you. Why? Because everything you desire is for your joy. Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. It's an Upanishadic statement. Everything that you love is for the sake of yourself, for you being a happy person, a happy being. Why do you love something? Because it's a source of joy. And the moment it stops being a source of joy, I love you will become I allow you, you go your way, I go mine. But then the person comes back, I'm sorry. Then, okay, second chance. Why? Because love is there, na? एक टाइम हैप्पी था ना. So I can probably recreate that. That's why I've seen many women getting stuck in dysfunctional relationship, abusive relationships. Atmanastu kamaya. Yeah, someone has said it is desire that motivates us. In a way, true. In a way, true. Desire motivates us to get things. Okay. So, desire in the beginning can lead to your progress, to your growth. That is why I don't teach Vedanta to youngsters, because I want their growth first. But once a certain level of growth has been reached, you have to be able to shift from the desires to priorities and finally the ultimate priority. And if you have responsibilities, take it as responsibilities and duties and fulfill them. Because by that level of growth, you don't need a strong desire to be able to achieve something good. We are all used to thinking of desire as motivation, and it is true in most cases. Like look at what is the closest example? Yes, the team that won in Australia, the cricket team, youngsters, untried, okay, hardly international experience, minimalistic. Some of them are making their debut there. But with a passion to prove themselves, the desire. Battered, bruised, but we will do. Great job. Great job. When Siraj went and complained to the umpire, people are abusing me. And the umpire turns around and tells him, well, you can walk out of the field if you want to. Yeah? And concede the match to the Australians. Is he an impartial umpire or what? So that must have bugged the team more. So in the beginning stages of your growth, desire is important. Desire is important. That's why I am against, I don't know how many of you all remember, when we were in school, we had this whole English poetry book where one section was spent on contentment. What is this life full of care? We have no time to stand and stare, no time to stand beneath the boughs and stare as long as sheep and cows. Why do you want to be a sheep and a cow? I don't know. Okay. Oh, sweet contentment, etc. Sweet stay at home, sweet love and plays. Thou hast not felt thy bosom keep the deep, long swell of the deep. I love thee for the goodness of your heart, not for the knowledge of your mind. All this nonsense goes on, English poetry. And the idiots colonized the world, but they fed all this poetry to others, I think. Never expose your kids to these type of things. I have a friend who is a management consultant. And his daughter was exposed to all this because he westernized. Yeah, I remember some poetry very, very well. Yes, I remember a lot of things well. Okay. So, this guy is practically westernized. So, he exposed his children to all these poetry and everything. And then one day when I meet him, he stays very close to me. He says, I don't know what to do with my daughter. I said, why? What happened? She has come home with 40% marks in 10th standard, and she says, I'm very content with it. My friend has got only 36%. I said, champ, all these, westernization won't help. Send her for my workshops. Send her for my workshops. And then she ended up doing her MBA. Okay. And working for a multinational. Now when the time is right, thoda Vedanta jayega. When the time is right. I'm a patient man. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is, in the beginning, this drive is necessary. Later on, your kushalatvam is so much, and because of your prasada buddhi, Ishvara buddhi, you are so calm and centered. You don't need this desire to make you do a good job of things. Why? You are highly professional. You are very capable person. Calm, centered. You have decided this has to be done. Therefore, done. What's the problem? This is a pain in my life. Chop it off. Chop it off. That's it. Finish. Okay. Hey, this is a good thing. I should do it. Okay, good. Do it. Simple as that. You don't need that great desire. You don't need that great desire. You just need a decision. You don't need the desire to motivate you anymore. Like Bhishma, he was fighting on the opposite side of where his desire was. He wanted the Pandavas to win, but he had to fight because of his word. He had to fight on the side of the Kauravas. Very efficient. Very efficient. If he had not fallen on the 10th day, the Pandava army would have been wiped out. Because one battalion was wiped out every day by him. Very efficient person. Yeah. So a time will come. Initially, yes, desire, etc. will motivate you. I accept that. And the problem of desire motivating you is it can motivate you both ways. For something that is dharmic, for something that is adharmic also. Where there is the nature of desire. I mean, look into your own hearts, all of us. You think every desire we have had has been dharmic? How many have had adharmic desires? I will raise both my hands. Come on. But you manage it, you handle it, you follow dharma. You follow dharma. So when you shift from desires to priorities, etc., as your motivation, and ultimately to moksha as this thing, everything falls into place very well. Like I know this lady, okay, she had to look after her mother, her father-in-law, her mother-in-law, all not well, one after the other. Well, last 10 years she has been only looking after people. And in between she managed to go and study in the ashram also. So I told her, your life has been one long seva. It's conducive to moksha, so I'm happy doing it. Wow. I said, what a mindset. What a mindset. Not flinching from anything. Why? This will help me grow. This will help me grow. Therefore, I'll do it to help me grow and gain moksha. So, even though desire motivates you in the beginning, which is a good thing, all desire is not bad. Okay? All desire is not bad. Like someone was asked, everyone is afraid of you. You know, Rahul Gandhi, Sonia Gandhi, Digvijay Singh and all are afraid of you. Some of the industrialists are afraid of you. He said, it's a good thing. Why? Those who are doing wrong better be afraid when they are doing something wrong. Better be afraid. The criminal should be afraid of the law. Correct or not? If there is no fear of law, what will happen to all the criminals? They will become 10 times worse. Therefore, they better be. You all must have guessed who said it. If I say the person, then they'll say I am a bhakt, which I am not. Okay. Yeah. So, keeping that in mind, okay. Nispraha. When you are rooted in the knowledge, and once you are rooted in the knowledge, you are out of the rat race anyway. You may do a lot of things or not do a lot of things. Why? Because all that is fulfilled itself. Your purpose in life is fulfilled. Then what does it matter whether you achieve or you don't achieve? Does it really matter? No, it's very typical. It didn't matter to me whether I came down to Bombay to teach or not. Oh, you have so many students, you have many classes going. It didn't matter to me. Then why did you come down to Bombay to teach? Guru Agnya, that is all. I would have been happily saying, put in Rishikesh. Teaching the few people who came there. Because I could teach advanced texts there. Which the last 30 years I have not been able to do. Siddhi Granthas. Hopefully now in the Bandra class I will start some. Couldn't do that. Yeah. Rishikesh I would have been doing it now. But Guru Akya. When the Guru says, you say Haji and you will do. So I came down to Bombay to teach. So all of you have to suffer me because of that. Okay, don't blame me. Okay. Why did he come down? Same thing. He was part of Chinmaya mission and he had left and gone to Rishikesh to study after sannyasa. That's it. Then Swami Chinmayanji had a heart attack and he sent word to him. Literally he had to send word. Okay, somebody had to go there. Because there is no telephones, etc. Even when I was in Rishikesh, you will book a trunk call to Haridwar. And I'll tell Swamiji, I'll go to Haridwar, get the answer from that character and come back before the trunk call comes through. Which was true. I would write a letter to my parents here in which I would mention telegram follows. Because the telegram will invariably reach after the letter. These are not jokes, these are all facts, okay? So, he sent word, come down and please complete this series of talks. So, Swami Dayanji quickly rushed down and came and did that. And then Swami Chinmayanji said, see, I have already had my first heart attack, okay? I need help to do all these things. Okay? Do. All right. Guru requires my help. Kar le. Are you getting the idea? It is not desire that this thing. Why? You have fulfilled yourself. Abhi kya farak pada? But Swamiji, will I really take care of everything that has to be done once I gain that knowledge? Once you gain the knowledge, the wisdom for how to use that will come along with it. Don't worry. You don't have to be worried about it because I have my wife and kids are there. My kids are small. Will I have the wisdom to take care of them, etc.? Once the self-knowledge is there, the wisdom of what to do and how to live will automatically be there along with it. You won't have to consult anybody. Yeah. You will know. Just a minute, okay? Yeah. All of you can hear me? Can you all hear me?
Yes, Swami.
Now we can hear you.
I think the evening problem has started very often Saturday evening. This is a bit jinxed, okay? Anyway, let's see how it goes on. So he says because of that, okay, yukta iti asit tada. Okay. Any question, clarification, or all of you are clear on this? Hello? Can you all hear me?
Yes, Swami.
Yes,
Oh,
yes, we
okay.
can hear you.
Because I can see only 3-4 of you, okay? That's why. Okay. Then he is describing Okay, he is describing the mind in meditation. How will the mind be in meditation? Okay, let's look at that also before we go into the meditation. Yatha deepo nivatastha nengate sopama smrita yogina yata chittasya yunjata yogam atmanaha. Okay. Yatha viniyatam chittam, he says. Yatha deepo nivatastaha. Like a lamp kept in a place where there is no breeze. Okay? A lamp kept in a place where there is no Okay, I think I may have to shift over. Okay, if once more it goes out, I will shift over to my this thing. Okay, like how a lamp which is kept in a place where there is no breeze, yata deepaha nivatastaha, na ingate, does not shake, does not flicker. Okay, just one flame, that's it. He says. Sa upama smrita. This is the example given. Yoginaha yatachittasya yunjataha yogamatmanaha. Yoginaha yatachittasya. When the yogi has put enough effort to master his mind, okay. When the yogi has put enough efforts to master his mind, he says, this is how the mind will be. What? Without shaking, without flickering, the mind will remain where you have placed it. And where have you placed it? Atma Jnane, Yogam Atmana, Yunjataha Yogam Atmanaha. He is taken to this yoga of Atma Jnanam. Therefore, he will be rooted in that. He will be rooted in that. Okay. So that is the example given as far as the yogi is concerned. Okay. Okay. Now, when it comes to meditation, etc., it is better to always do something. And I said last time that I will, what you call, go into it a little bit more detail. Okay, I will go into it. We'll do a little bit more detailed practice. Okay, so let us start. Okay, let us start. So as usual, okay, as usual, you sit in a comfortable posture. Okay, you can sit on the ground, you can sit on your sofa, it doesn't matter. Okay, now I'm sure you don't want to go any much more into where you sit, how you sit, etc. You're all comfortable with all that part. Okay, so all that you have to see is you sit erect, the spine is straight, Can you all see me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Swami.
I switched over to the phone because it keeps going off. Okay. So I switched over to the phone. Okay. Now, okay. So what we do is we get into the actual practice. So you sit erect, arms comfortably placed on your lap or on your knees. Okay. The same thing holds good when you are sitting cross-legged on the floor as well. Okay. The spine is erect. The neck, the head, and the spine in one comfortable alignment. Okay. You're not looking up or down, look straight in front. Okay. And start by gently closing your eyes. Let your eyes and mouth be gently closed. No frown on your face. You are relaxed. Okay. You are completely relaxed. Facial muscles relaxed. Neck muscles relaxed. Shoulders relaxed. Arms, forearms, palms and fingers all relaxed. Chest muscles relaxed. Stomach relaxed. Sides relaxed. Upper back, lower back relaxed. Waist and hips relaxed. Thigh muscles relaxed. Knees, calf muscles, shin, ankles, feet and toes all relaxed. Your whole body is relaxed like any other body sitting here. Look at this body in one sweep of vision from the head to the toe. See that it is relaxed. Just be aware of this body. Just paying attention. What are the different sensations in your body? Just pay attention to that. Maybe a breeze playing with your hair. The sensation when your hands are touching each other. Or the sensation when you're sitting somewhere. Feet on the ground, the sensation there. Just be aware of the different sensations. Whatever they are, just be aware. Just be aware. You are independent of the body. You are the one that is aware of this body. To help you quieten your mind further, shift the attention to your breath. Feel the breath wherever you can feel it, from the nostrils to your abdomen, wherever. Definitely at your nostrils, all of you can feel. Just feel that breath. Just pay attention. You are not doing a breathing exercise. You are not doing a pranayama. Only prana ikshanam. Watching the breath. Now invoke the Lord in whatever form you can relate to. Whichever form is closest to your heart, invoke the Lord in that form and offer a mental worship, a manasa puja. The traditional one will be offering an asana, a seat, okay, snanam, abhisheka, etc. Then vastram. I want you to make it feel vivid. When you're doing it, you must really feel you're doing this. The more involved your mind is in this, the better this is. This step is about involvement. It is necessary to do this to invoke the bhakta out of you. I don't want that flippant person to come up in meditation. I want the devotee to be there. To be a devotee is to fundamentally relate to the Lord. That's a fundamental relationship. You are a devotee with the Lord because Creator created relationship if you appreciate. Your child is the same. Your parent is the same. Friend is the same. Your foe is the same. So invoke that universal being out of yourself. That's why when you do that Abhisheka, feel the weight of the water pot, the coolness of the water. Then Vastram, Alankaram, Vibhuti, Chandanam, etc., Kumkum, etc., Dupam, Deepam, Naivedyam, all of that. You may be financially constrained when you're doing a puja outside, physically constrained. In your mind, you don't have to be constrained. When Shankara writes for the Manasa Puja, as a sadhu, he thinks about of giving it in golden pots studded with all precious stones. Why? It's all mental. You can offer the best of the best. Naivedyam is not limited by your cooking skills. You can offer the best of Naivedyam to the Lord. Now take the arati plate for the final arati. Final arati is always camphor. If you see pujas in different places, there are different types of aratis at various stages. The final one is always camphor. Camphor is the final offering. So see that camphor flaring up under your fingers. Offer that camphor to the Lord. See the Lord's face lighted up in the light of that camphor. Put down that arati plate, offer it to the Lord. Take the arati yourself. Get the smell of that camphor. Prostrate to the Lord and sit down. You know the same bhakti bhavana that you have in your heart, the sense of devotion you have in your heart. Look at some of the people in your life. Your parents, for example, whatever they are or were, accept them for what they are. Whatever they were, nobody taught them how to parent. They must have made blunders with respect to you. It's okay. Accept them. Look at your children. Accept them for what they are. Lack of children in your life, accept that as well. Your partner in life, or the lack of a proper partner, accept that. It is that non-acceptance that leads you into problems. Accept that. You can always change a lot of things. Right now you accept. To bring in change, first you have to accept that this is a problematic situation. Accept that. Your colleagues at work, accept them. Your boss, accept her for what she is. Your juniors, accept them for what they are. I got such a dumb junior. That's okay, accept the person. After the appraisal, you can kick him out if you want to. Right now, accept. Your friends, easy, accept them for what they are. Your neighbors, accept them for what they are. Now look at yourself, your body, accept it for what it is. We all want to change certain aspects of it, that's okay. First accept it. Your mind, accept that. Your knowledge, your lack of it, accept that. Have that sense of acceptance, that prasada buddhi with respect to all these. When you do this at home, you can pick up a particularly difficult person in your life. That you value to keep, not just desire to keep in your life, that you really value to keep, and do this acceptance exercise. Or that difficult person you want to kick out of your life. Do the same thing. Accept the fact of the person, accept the fact of the need to cut that person from your life, and accept it. Then whatever you do afterwards will be proactive, not reactive. Once again, prostrate to the Lord and sit down for your japa. In your japa, there is nothing but you and the chant to begin with. Later, the silence that you are, that is all that is there, nothing else. When the chant is there, listen to the chant. When the chant is not there, listen to the silence. Om Ishaya Namaha. 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 ईशाय नमः. ॐ ईशाय नमः. ॐ ईशाय नमः. ॐ ईशाय नमः. ॐ ईशाय नमः. Before the chant there is silence. After the chant there is silence. Your attention is on that silence. You are watching that silence. The one that watches silence is silence. That silence is non different from you. In this silence, the chant comes up. Into this silence, the chant dies down. Even when the chant is there, the silence is not disturbed. Watch it again with this understanding. Watch it again. Om Ishaya Namaha. 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 The chant is born in silence, dies down into silence. You are that silence, awarefully silent. Silence, that is awareness, that's you. Om Ishaya Namaha. 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 Om. Silence. All that is there is one silence, that is yourself. The silent flame of awareness is you. One flame of awareness without any flicker of thought. पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. You can open your eyes and come back to normal thinking. Cup your eyes if you want to. Any questions, clarifications on this? Any doubts that you all want to clarify? Okay. But please do this for a few minutes every day at home. Only then it will have its effect on you. There are a lot of things to be known. There are a few things to be done. This is comes under the later one. It has to be done. Knowing is not enough. You need to do it. Okay. To make this knowledge part of yourself. We have still not gone into Nididhyasanam. Up to here is still preparatory level. That's why it can be done by anyone and everyone, including beginners in the whole thing. Okay. We'll develop it more in the subsequent classes. Next Saturday, no class. We are at the camp. Okay, yeah. So the next Saturday we'll start at 4 o'clock. Rather at 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 to 9, then 10 to 12:30, then 4 to 6. Okay. Yeah. So let's call it a day. Have a great time. Om Tat Sat.
Thank you, Swami.